Congratulations, you have an accepted offer. Now you're in the home inspection period. But what can you expect? Today, we will be answering what to expect during a home inspection with a special guest, a local home inspector. My name is Cayla Schluter. I'm a Twin Cities agent with RE/MAX Results and the Locker Home Group. My goal is to provide educational videos for home buyers, sellers, and homeowners. Please, if you like this video, hit the like button. And if you want to keep up to date on my local videos that I'll be producing weekly, please hit the subscribe button. All right, let's get to it and find out a little bit more about what to expect during a home inspection.
Everybody, my name is Joe Lundequam. I run Paladin Inspection Services, helping you stay safe in your castle. At an awful lot of the inspections that I provide for people, they want to know whether or not the inspection passes or fails. And it's not that kind of an inspection. It would be if I were inspecting a chimney. Chimney is either safe or not safe. But the house is sold as is. And I want you to know what it is that you're getting when you buy the house. But there's no wrong issue. There's no issue that's going to absolutely say, don't buy this house. And so there's no failure. What it is that I do, my secret sauce, the thing that makes my inspections better than my competition, is that I'm really good at helping you understand what is important and what is not important. Things that you can put off for a little while. You've seen the grid, urgent, important, and not urgent, not important. Most of the stuff falls into one of four categories, and I can help you tease out what it is that the buyer needs to know, needs to deal with right away. An example would be smoke alarms. Throw them away, buy new ones. Almost guaranteed that the ones that are in there are not photocell, and those are the best you can get. Sure, they cost a little bit more, but they last 10 years and they save lives. And I can explain in further detail if you'd like, but the bottom line is that some stuff is important, not hard to fix, and relatively easy to do. Other stuff is important and not easy to fix, and I'll be able to point those things out too. Exterminators sometimes are really easy. It gets in and out. You end up with no mice at all afterwards. Sometimes it's an ongoing battle. And I can help that way too. A good home inspector can tell you what caused the problem, what the possible solutions are, and how much it's going to cost. But a really good home inspector can tell you, is this important or not? An awful lot of safety devices are in place that really don't help you out very much, but they're there because of an interesting backstory that may have happened 20 years ago. And so we need to tease out. You're going to get a 50-page report. I don't want anybody to lose their minds. Sometimes I look over my shoulder, the buyer's eyes are as big as dinner plates, and I haven't even gotten to the fun stuff yet. And I go, okay, we need to back off. I need to back you from the... I'm not trying to sell you the house. I don't care if you buy it or not. But I do want you to know that this is something that you can deal with. This ain't no hill for a climber, and there's lots of people in the exact same position, and you're going to be fine. I can do that. Another question, one of the questions that people have is, how much is this going to cost? I try really hard to give a real broad answer because I don't know. And so, and I don't want somebody to come and say, well, you said it was going to be $500 and it's $5,000. But I can give you some broad strokes. It costs about $10,000 to replace the shingles on a roof. But I don't know if the contractor is going to find softwood underneath, and that's going to change the conversation right away. Interesting roofs cost more than boring roofs. And so you can talk broad strokes all day long, but when it comes to the nitty-gritty, you need to talk to somebody who actually is going to get the check for fixing it. That's the person who you want to talk about how much it's going to cost. So if I say the roof should be repaired or replaced, then your next step before finding out how much it's going to cost is to find out how much it's going to cost, and that would be on you. So we can move on. I'm here at a house on Hague Avenue in St. Paul. It's built in 1916, so I know getting out of the car some of the things that I expect. Today, I'm going to look first at the roof, then we'll look at all of the appliances, make sure that they're operative and how old they are, and how much time is left available on that roof. What most people do is they wait until the roof is about 20 years old and start praying for hail. Hail replaces about 70% of the shingles in this neighborhood. So yeah, it can look pretty darn ugly before it starts to leak. But once it starts, once you've got cracks, missing shingles, a lot of granular loss, then you run out of time. It's time to replace the shingles. Now the shingles on this roof are in pretty good shape. The FHA says that if you think the the roof is going to last 5 years or more, call it functional. 5 years or less, call it marginal. 1 year or less, call it end of life. I'm going to call this roof functional. I also look at the appliances, make sure that they're new enough. Boilers are good for at least 30 years, and this one is about 35 years old. And so I just recommend a tune-up. This does not have central air, so I'm not worried about that. I am a little bit concerned about electric because electric systems are often played with by a whole lot of people, and we want to make sure that somebody isn't fixing stuff with an uncle and a 12-pack of beer. And so those are the things that are going to be the first things we look at. We take pictures of everything, and we look at all the windows, the outlets, make sure all the doors close, open and close all the windows, that sort of stuff that you'd expect from a home inspection. A lot of people don't know quite what to do during a home inspection. Mostly just follow them around and ask dumb questions. That's what people do around me. I assume that that's what they do around other inspectors too. And that's fine. That's what I like. That's the reason why I got into this business. That, and you get to buy a whole bunch of new toys. I like that part a lot too. So we can start any time, and I'll show you what it is that I look at. I'm in the garage, and I'm just going to do a couple of things. I'm going to make sure that the light beam across the floor, you know, that thing that keeps the cat from turning into two pieces of cat, that has to be 6 inches or less from the floor, so that anything that is going to break that light beam will let the door go back up. It's got a safety reverse, has been since like 1992. So if I ever come across a situation where that light beam is not there, either somebody has been playing games with it or the opener is very old. There's a button that you push in order to make the door go up and down. That has to be more than 5 feet from the floor, so that a kid doesn't push that button, grab the bottom of the door, and get a ride up into the sky. My daughter did that one time. Let me tell you about that story someday. One of the things that I do is I operate the door. I might make sure that it opens and closes without the opener, so that if the power is out, you can still go to work on time. I'll check all of the outlets to make sure that they are operative and GFCI protected, ground fault circuit interrupter protected. That is a safety device that is saves lives. Anytime around 6 feet of water outside, unfinished basements, garages, bathrooms, and kitchens, they all require them now. And they save lives. They're good to have. I also want to make sure that there isn't a whole bunch of heavy stuff up in the rafters. These rafters are not designed for heavy weights. Christmas decorations, if you want to store your stuff up there, that'd be fine. The weight set, not so much. So I looked at those things. I look at the door leading into the garage if it's not in if the garage is attached. I also look at the service door for security. Most of these doors don't have deadbolt locks, and I recommend that. And a lot of the service doors, you could go ahead and put a bar up there, a bracket on either side of the door, and put a 2x4 in there. That'll add a lot of security. The weather stripping on the garage door is often damaged or incomplete, and that allows a lot of mice in and out, mostly in. And so what you want to do is you want to replace that if it's starting to fall apart or if it's missing in places. Those are the things that I look for. If the door makes a lot of noise or if it's hard to open or close, then I just simply require a maintenance issue, and it requires maintenance, and I simply call out, have it maintained. The door itself has to be in good operative condition, but it doesn't have to be pretty. If it's got a lot of dings and bangs on it, then I record that it has cosmetic damage. And one last thing about garage doors is that if the spring needs to be adjusted, absolutely under no circumstances should you learn how to adjust it yourself. That's not the right time. Hire that job out. I know that the people who do it may or may not be smarter than you, but I know that they are better trained, and it's a really good way to break your arm if you don't do it right. If the spring is not adjusted well, when you pull the cord, the door either flies all the way up because the spring is too tight, or it takes superhuman strength in order to hold the door, get the door open, and the door doesn't stay open. Or the spring is broken, one way or another. These are jobs for professionals. And again, they don't have to be smart professionals, they just have to be well-trained professionals, and you ain't one. I look for cracks in the garage floor. I look for open seams along the bricks. And those things are worth noting, but they're not scary. The garage floor can be pretty banged up and still be functional. If you've got shifting, if it's moving around a lot, it might be worth repouring a floor. Probably not, especially not if it's a old floor like in an old garage and in an old neighborhood. You're just not going to expect that. You should expect cracks. There's two kinds of concrete, and I'm sure you've heard this one. There's two kinds of concrete in the world. There's concrete that is cracked, and there's concrete that's going to crack. So when I find cracked concrete, I'm not at all scared, and neither should you be. But I want to point it out so that I can point out that I don't point it out. Well, that wraps up the inspection of the garage. Let's go on into the house and see what we can find there. We're in the basement of the house that I'm inspecting. This is a place that I spend most of the time at an inspection. I want to make sure that the appliances are in good working order, that they're not horribly old, and I can give an idea of how much longer we can expect to use them. I always recommend that furnaces and water heaters and air conditioners get tuned up every year, but sometimes they don't. And even if you do tune them up every year, that doesn't mean that they're going to last forever. So I try to give an idea of what the customer can expect in terms of longevity and cost. Another thing that I do while I'm in the basement, I look at all the plumbing, the pipes and the drainage. I want to see if there's steel pipes because they are problematic. I want to see if there's proper or improper slope to the drainage. I want to make sure that the connections are good, that the laundry facilities are going to work out well. And while I'm down here, I look for and see if I can find the electric panel. The electric panel is a good place to spend a fair amount of time. You want to make sure that everything associated with the panel is safe. Everything that is considered electric in nature, any issue at all, would be considered a hazard. That doesn't necessarily mean that your hair's on fire and that it's the end of the world, but it does mean that it's important because electricity is very important. So those are the places that I spend a lot of time on. The basement is good for a huge chunk of the inspection time that I have. One of the things that I look for is an anti-siphon device in the laundry tub. That's just a device that screws to the faucet so that in case you've got a hose on the faucet and that hose should go to the bottom of the sink, if there's a water pressure drop, you don't want water from the sink to get into your system. So I look for that. It's an inexpensive product. It costs about $10 and it's about half the length of a roll of quarters. I look to see if that's installed, and if it is installed, I check to see if that's installed properly. That's the sort of stuff that I do in the basement. I want to make sure that the floor joists and where it meets the end of the house is in good shape. I want to make sure that the house isn't shifting, so I look to see if the walls are bending or bowing. I also look for and usually find evidence of moisture coming into the basement, especially in these old houses. My friend Roger Bovey, who got me into the business, he's really, really old. He and I went to grade school together. He says he automatically puts it in every single report that he has on an older house. He says, evidence of moisture found in the basement. I said, what happens if you don't find any moisture in the basement? He says, it means that I haven't looked hard enough. And so that's what I do. I look for and find where moisture is coming in, I document it, and then I point out 2 or 3 or 4 things that the buyer can do in order to reduce the moisture coming into the basement and reduce the effects of moisture in the basement. So those are the things that I look for in the house. Again, about the steep stairs, I point out where they are not safe, but if it's simply the fact that the stairs are steep or narrow, I don't usually expect anybody to do anything about that. Well, that's pretty much it for the inspection portion of the festivities here. I want to thank you very much for watching. My name is Joe Lundequam. I run Paladin Home Inspections. My tagline is helping you stay safe in your castle. If you've got any questions about your house or houses in general, home inspections in general, please ask them for me for 2 really important reasons. One is that I like to help people and I like to solve their problems for them or with them. But more important than that, if I don't have the answer, it is an indicator of where I could do more homework, a little bit more research, so that I can in fact be a better inspector, and that would help me out a great deal. You can find more information at the bottom of this video. You can also just Google Paladin Home Inspections, and that'll come up with me and my contact information. You can also give me a call or text me, area code 651-307-1384. Have a great day.
All right, that's a wrap. Thanks, Joe, for all that great information. And what he forgot to mention, that not only do I love educating buyers and sellers, so does he. He's actually written his very own inspection manual. And if you are interested in getting a copy, reach out. This thing is awesome. Not only is it written in a language that's easy to understand, it even has its own seasonal maintenance checklist, which I find super helpful because I need to know what to do with my own house. So if you want a copy, reach out. Again, I'm Cayla Schluter, a Twin Cities real estate agent focused on the South Metro. If you ever need anything, reach out. Don't forget to subscribe and hit like if you thought this video was helpful. Thanks.